Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 256 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to work on making copper pellets and ingots. Enjoy! So the copper element of our setup was right here, and the numbers are going to be fairly similar to this setup, except that we have even more of them. So it's probably a good thing we don't decide where the bus goes until the end, because it's still the 20 to 40 into the 6.6, but then we're going to need 40 chemical furnaces up here somewhere. Let's just make a storage warehouse so the bots have somewhere to go. And I guess we'll just pick all of this up then. And what we need to build, at least for the first stage of it, is very similar to this. So we'll just copy the whole thing and figure out what to do with it after it's been placed. So we want to place this over here, but leave some spaces. Well, this is the wire reach, so kind of makes sense. But something is in the way still. I'm not sure what. Up here. So it has to be something like that. Hopefully that'll leave enough room for the chemical furnaces element of it. We need to get our teleporter in here so we can move around easier. We'll call this ore processing. Let's get those chemical furnaces. I am kind of worried about getting it all to fit in here. We can't really make the setup wider, because then it would bump up against here. So we could really only make it longer. So hopefully, with having a ore priority setup, we won't have to have all these belts here. You can just use the minimum number of belts. And then specifically, hopefully, all of this gets squished down. So I guess we can actually kind of calculate that real quick. Let's just say the goal was copper coils, and the input was 240 ingots. How big would the setup be? A lot smaller. Where with these we would only need 11 of them, so basically just this. And of course there'd have to be enough room for belts and whatever, but it probably would be, since it would be 68 coils. So we would only need that. And then for these we would need 13 of them, which is basically just about this. Although we are doing multiple processing methods there, so that's probably not the best example. It would be something like this, but instead of that tall, it would be more like this. So I'm thinking this total area right here is probably more than enough. So as long as the belts and these chemical furnaces for working on copper can fit before they reach up there, I think it will still be fine, and it seems like it would fit. Still kind of waiting on robots a little bit, but we can get this set up to the right material. It's got to be copper. That one as well. And it's really only these better tiers that are going to be kind of space squished. That the other ones will be a lot easier to jam in there. Okay, we want to do the third tier, making anodes. I also want to get this connected. I guess these power poles don't quite reach, so there you go. So all of this remains about the same. There'll only be one input instead of two, and all it needs to be is the fuel. So we can have these in here. I'll probably leave it red so it can be easily copied over to the other setups. But it would only be this one belt here. We need to get the oxygen in here, which we do need to build a better oxygen setup for this, which that's not too hard to do. But the main thing I'm kind of worried about here is just this part right here. So I guess we'll just kind of yank it all out of here, because all of that's going to change. Because now we need to have 40 of these chemical furnaces handling 8 belts. So it'll be 5 furnaces per belt. So probably want to try to mash these in here a little bit. You can kind of tell that throughput could potentially be an issue on these. Let's see here. No, not too bad. Just worried about the piping. But each individual machine doesn't need too many inserters. So it should be okay. But basically a stack inserter will be fine for each one of these. And then the same for the output. But we probably want to have twice as many, because we have an odd number of them. So that's nearsighted. That one's nearsighted. And so too is that one. So we need to do 8 rows of these. Something like that there. And that handles 2. Which makes me worried how big this is going to end up being. And this is definitely going to be wide, because we would need 3 more of these setups. So it's definitely going to be bumping into other things. So let's try to do the same thing, but 1 space out, because then we can do 2 rows of them. Things are getting kind of crowded now. Not sure we need to deal with any of this stuff, because a lot of that's basically going to change. And it's not like this is particularly complicated, it's just ingots go in, and then they get ejected out. So I think I'm going to pick all this up without really looking at the logic. Although it might be playing it safe to just at least pick up 1 of these, just in case there's something I want to copy. But we basically want to get rid of all of this. Well, while all this is going down, we can work on the other part of the wall. Get the 10 drones going there. No, the accumulators are in the way. Well, we can sacrifice a few. Uh-oh, biters are getting in. They like crossed all the way over here. The cannon shots must have made them mad. Man, they're spawning so many of them. Man, that was crazy. Yeah, I have the feeling the cannon shells are making them mad. That all their homes are getting blown up, so they're crossing where they can. Which, because of the water fill mod, they're able to walk across the water. And when they die, they leave landfill for some reason. I'm not sure what the best way to handle this would be. I kind of feel like it's kind of standing here and just making sure they don't get through. Because eventually all these nests are going to be cleared out. But if this is specifically where they're crossing, might be able to make some turrets real quick, just to distract them. That's quite the raiding party. that seems to be the last of them for now. Probably because they cleared out all the nests. So they're less mad, but the shells are making it down here now. Oh my goodness. They are mad. I guess I'll just leave those turrets there for now, just in case they walk the long way around again. Oh man, look at that. Well, that explains why there's so many orbs here. Jeez, they almost got through. I almost want to help here. And we are clearing through all of this. It's looking a lot better over here. Okay, I think we finally got all this cleared out. Spiders are still a little angry, but that should be a pretty safe wall for now. Lots of bots moving orbs around. They'll eventually get them cleared out. Looks like the anything signal didn't work, but it could be that it's yeah, it's jumping around to other locations, so we have to have it set specifically to sulfur. There we go. Well, now we're out. But it'll go back up before too long. So we were working on copper here. Oh, just some stuff being destroyed. But I think the bots have a handle of it. Let's see. Or I wanted to extend this. One more up. Because then we can keep this going. And then that gives us something that we can copy over. And that gets us half of the 20 that we need. So in fact, if we move these over, since there's 4 belts on each side, we can cut this up. Then it should line up here, like right there. And then we can do a whole nother one right here, and it almost fits. Well, luckily this is the 3rd tier of processing, so we know that there's going to be no higher tier of iron that needs to fit in here. For now, I'll just connect this belt in here, but I have the feeling that the position of this is going to change based on where this goes. So, I think we're looking pretty good here, where the storage warehouse will be here, and then all of the belts going across will be there. And we needed to reserve this much space for the coil production. And actually, iron could be moved over a little bit to better utilize this space if it needed to be. But I think it's doing pretty good for now. Okay, we need our warehouse. We don't want to have too much space in here, because we need to leave room for our ingot bus, but it would all go in there. This would be set to the copper ingots. And it has to be less than 1,000. The other thing we need to do is work on the oxygen production, which we were going to do locally here to make things a little easier, so we don't have to worry so much about piping oxygens from so far away. I guess we can kind of do it right up here, because this right here I think is going to kind of move forward a bit. So this space is probably going to be available. So if we put 10 of them, they would go into 2 of these. Oh, that just barely fits, but I guess it does. Kind of want to leave a space, though. That's a lot of air filter machines there. It's kind of weird to see without the machines in here, but I think those are all hooked up. And this is a lot of gases, but it should be on the upper end of what can be done. If not, we can simply move or build one of these somewhere else as well. Although I wasn't considering space for power poles in here. And that will matter. Well, some of the oxygen that we're going to need is going to go towards steel, which is up here, which should lessen the stress a little bit. And the other thing is the nitrogen. I don't think we really have nitrogen on pipes because we are moving the oxygen instead. So for now, I think I'm just going to dump the nitrogen and worry about hooking it up to the rest of the factory later when we kind of care more about that. Okay, so we only need to have 3 of the flare stacks. Means we can probably kind of place them right here. So for now, we can hook it up back to the rest of the system. And we'll throw a pump in here just to try to make sure the flow is good. And let's come in on the left, because that's what we were doing before. Oh. Those spiders are getting through in a couple of spots. Okay, I think we just have to wait for the bots to deliver everything here. Let's see, we don't need the carbon yet, so we can move it down here. We do need the fuel, but I guess we'll just keep this red. I'll put a marker right here to remind myself that it needs to be extended there. So the fuel made it in okay? Yep. Now we need to get 4 belts of copper up here. We've already got this position, so we might as well keep using it. Let's do the shimmy over. Although we might want to do this a little lower. So there's room for this to go through. We need to get these acids in here as well. And it looks like the last bit of it is over here. Although that's sulfur dioxide gas, so it's not quite the same. The acid is actually being delivered by train here. It's not being sent up. Although it does go to here. There we go. Looks like our oxygen generator is in place, dumping all of the nitrogen. So if we hit this, it should pipe in all of the oxygen, which it does. We do this, get all the sulfuric acid in there, and it's good. We gotta get these set up. Less than 1,000. And I think that's most of what we need for there. So when we hook this up, we should be able to see how the process works. For the couple of seconds that it'll run. There we go. Making the cathodes. And making the ingots. It looks like it's basically filling up, but there's our 1,000. And that's all we get to test, because it's filling up. And this is definitely using the copper faster than we can produce it. So we're starting to shoot some in from the less ideal ways. But I don't know if we're going to use this much copper all of the time. Just noticed that in the past we were kind of a little low on copper, so that is to hopefully avoid that problem, because that's 8 belts of ingots. I would hope that 8 belts would be enough. And yeah, if this ends up being limited by pump speed or whatnot, we can just put another one somewhere else. If we're just dumping the nitrogen, then it's not that big a deal. I would like to try to save the nitrogen at some point. But for now, since this isn't actually going anywhere, we don't have to worry about it, because I kind of want to get all these pipes in place first before we figure out where we actually want to send the nitrogen. No plastic, no explosives. Well, plastic is gone. That makes sense, because we've been making a bunch of explosives and that uses plastic. It's going the best it can. I think it's because we are, yeah, kind of low on stone. And this is where a lot of the mineralized water comes from. But it seems to be running okay. It caught up just like that. Any junk in here to get rid of? Oh, kind of. I mean, there's junk. There's always junk. But basically, we just want to get rid of this copper because it's not on a bus, so we're unlikely to ever have it in our inventory. So no point in making the bots move it around when that's just one more thing to clutter up our requests menu. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we're going to work on lead, tin, and manganese. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.